Mets. Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green bears, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because those Mets are really rocking that ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. New Jersey, Brooklyn, Queens, uptown and down. Let's go Mets! That's the cheer all over New York town. Meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, freeways, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because the Mets are really rocking the ball, hitting those home runs over the wall.
Hi, everybody. This is Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut. Here we are back again live in New York City, talking about the New York Mets and the winter meetings that is going on right now. I expect some movement over the next hour as we get close to the Rule 5 draft. That happens at 5 o'clock. So I expect some more deals, I think, from just Major League Baseball in general. Obviously, there have been a couple of interesting moves today by the Mets. They brought in some left-handed pitching. One is starting Jose Quintana, and the other being Brooks Raley they made a trade with the Rays today. They traded a prospect. His name's Keyshawn. The hell's his name? Keyshawn Riley. Keyshawn Askew. I've never seen him, and I'm not gonna pretend to know who he is and that he's a prospect. But just going through a couple of things, he doesn't seem like he's gonna. I don't know if he's gonna make it in the major leagues, but who knows with the Rays? That's not our issue, but Raley really helps them out a lot because they needed a lefty in that bullpen in the worst way. So now they filled a major need in the bullpen that they didn't have last year, and that's a lefty that was effective. Left-handed hitters hit 158 against Raley, so that is a big deal. He's 34 years old. Let me just give you a couple of things about him. He pitched 60 games, 53 and two-thirds innings, with 61 strikeouts, 15 walks, which is pretty good, and only gave up 3 home runs. But he has a 2-year contract, one for this year and for 2023 and in 24. So he's on Mets payroll for a couple of years. Let me say hello to the chat. Hello, Mothman Evolved, Sean Zarnicki, and Stony814. Yeah, I expect some stuff here today as we get further down before the end of the meetings. Also, today they signed Jose Quintana to a 2-year, $26 million contract. So that fills the mission with the Mets. I would mention this about Quintana. He pitched very well last year in the last 2 months for the Cardinals and helped them get the postseason. And he pitched so well. He pitched game 1 against the Phillies, and he pitched rather well against the Phillies from what I saw earlier. But he pitched very well last year, and he basically been a journeyman, but he'd been with the White Sox for a few years and then became a journeyman. But he pitched rather well, and he got himself a contract. So, but obviously the Mets have been busy today. We know about Senga. I don't know if he's going to sign soon, Stoney. I said last night that the Mets weren't signing Aaron Judge. Okay, I was thinking he was going to go to the Giants because it was crazy yesterday with John Heyman and Arson Judge and everything else. But I don't know when Senga's going to pick. Is going to sign. I know that he said that the people that represent him said that he's probably going to take his time. That's sort of the rumor, but who knows? But things have picked up today. Obviously, Aaron Judge went back to the Yankees. Wilson Contreras signed with the Cardinals, which is interesting because then that opens up trade possibilities with the A's and with the Blue Jays. Obviously, they have catchers that can be moved. Danny Jansen of the Blue Jays is probably going to get moved, and Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy is going to get moved by the A's, and I would expect that they will get moved fairly soon. It's been a very quiet winter meetings, to be honest with you. Usually we get inundated with all kinds of trades, signings. It has been about as boring a winter meetings as I can remember in a long time. 2019 was very exciting, wasn't it? We had a lot of moves then, just in general. It was very quiet the last 2 days. I understand that Jacob deGrom's going to get introduced tomorrow in Texas. That's going to be interesting. We'll see what he has to say for himself, since he left a winning situation to go to a winning situation. But also want to bring this up about Darren Ruff. There is a little report saying that the Mets are trying to move him because he doesn't have a lot of money on his contract, just a $3 million contract. So there's probably a chance that he's probably going to get moved. Now you're going to say nobody wants him. He's terrible. Somebody will want him. But he's going to get moved. You have to get rid of him. It did not work out here with the Mets. And it didn't seem like he really adjusted well to playing here. So he's probably going to – then they have to move some of this money out. Because once they put Verlander and Quintana on the payroll, which they've not announced Verlander yet because he hasn't taken his physical yet, it's going to be a while before they're going to have to figure out where they're going to get rid of some of this money. I would not be surprised, and I'll put this out. Don't be surprised if they move Carrasco because he's got money coming to him. So just keep that in mind. I don't think they're going to move him, but just keep that in mind. He's got a lot of money coming to him. Keep an eye on Mark Canha getting moved. And, of course, Brandon Nimmo is still out there. Earlier this morning, it seemed like there was optimism about bringing Brandon back. Now it doesn't seem so hot. It doesn't seem like he might be coming back. There might be pessimism now that he'll come back. So that's going to have to figure out where to pivot to, because to lose Brandon Nimmo for the Mets is a big deal. Don't let anybody else tell you differently. There are very few players that do what he does, and the Mets are going to have to figure out how to replace that. So maybe one of the things they do is maybe they trade Canha for some talent. They move some of that talent for a better player. Who knows? Here's something. The Twins have made a formal offer to free agent Christian Vasquez. So I guess some of the catchers are starting to come off the board here today. So keep that in mind. There are a lot of teams that are looking for catching help. I'll go through some of the teams here just so you know. Like I said, Wilson Contreras was a big subject here because the Mets came awfully close to the trade for him before the trading deadline. But teams that are looking for catching help are the White Sox, the Twins, who are giving him a formal contract. He'll probably get less, I would think, than Contreras got. The Angels, well, not the Cardinals are out. I would probably cross them out. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong list. Hello. I'm looking at the wrong list. Okay. Yeah, St. Louis, they're out on Vasquez, so he's not going to go to St. Louis. The White Sox, the Angels, the Twins, who seems to be in, the Red Sox, maybe, Milwaukee, Tampa Bay, and San Diego. What's up with San Diego? They had contract offers to Trey Turner and to Aaron Judge. Holy crap. People are saying this today. Where are they getting all this money from? Who are they robbing? But we'll see. But we'll see about Nimmo. I mean, I keep going back and forth on it. I know he wants to come back, but he's not going to come back for one penny less. He's not going to leave one penny on the table. So he's going to go for the most money. If it's the Mets, great. If it's not, he'll move on to other places. We know with his agent, he'll take the most money. And the agent's not going to care if he's in a place that doesn't win. Look what happened to Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant went to a bad situation in Colorado, which made no sense. The Fish Hobby says, we need bats. Okay. I agree. I don't have to scream it. But you have to have pitching first. Mets had too many holes with the pitching not to address that first. You know. And I would mention this. The reason the Mets did not do well in September is not because of the guys on the fringes that they brought in didn't do better. Lindor didn't hit, and Pete didn't hit as well as they should have. Stoney814 says, let's get Benintendi after we sign Nimmo. It's either one or the other. I don't think it's both. Because, Benintendi could lead him off. We could bat him ninth. Although Jersey, great. It's not evening yet. It's only 4:15. Unless you're over in Europe. Now, please like this video and, of course, subscribe to the Baseball Hut. From the fishing hobbyist, Canna Escobar not good with this roster. Alvarez needs to start over James M. It's dictating. This isn't how you make trades. You don't dictate it. Well, Escobar and Canna did a pretty damn good job on this roster when they won 100 games. And when you complain about Escobar, when Escobar won the Player of the Month for September, no. But I guess you forgot about September. You only complained about all the other months. So that's why he has to go, right? And I agree with James McCann, by the way. One of the worst players in baseball. But there seems to be a market for James McCann. I will mention this. Once Jansen and Murphy get moved, there's still a lot of teams that need catching help. So there's at least 5 or 6 teams that are in the market for catching. Cardinals are out now because they have Contreras. Again, the White Sox, the Twins, the Angels, the Boston Red Sox, Tampa, Houston, and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Yeah, Morphman Revolve says Fish is the Mets owner, apparently. Are you pounding your fist in the table? That you have to do next, man. Fish man. The Fish hobbyist. Ray Rod says, what's your ideal lineup, including potential? I don't know. I don't know who's going to be here. And lineups always change during the season on who pitches, who doesn't pitch against the team. I'm not giving you any lineup. I don't get into the lineups right now. Met lineup is not going to change all that much. And where have you been all this time? Where have you been all this time? You only come out during the offseason? You never write to me here at the hut during the season when the Mets are winning 100 games? Interesting. It's always interesting who writes to me on a regular basis and who doesn't. Also mention that Kenley Jansen, he's out of the National League. Thank God. He's pitching in Boston. And he's not going to pitch well there. He's going to beat the hell out of him. He's not going to pitch well there in Boston. I just got that feeling. Yankees are going to beat the hell out of him. I can see that right now. Him walking off the mound during a walk-off because he gave up a home run to Anthony Rizzo. I can see that. And again, I'm glad he's out of here. The Mets never hit him in the National League, by the way. So, but yeah. So a lot of players have been coming off the boards, all these free agents, but we have not seen like a big trade. We need a big trade to make this into a really good winter meetings. This was a dud. I said this a few minutes ago. This is a dud. Dud. All right. Aaron Judge has gone back to the Yankees. No surprise. Jacob deGrom, former ace of the Mets, went to the Rangers, which was a surprise to everybody but myself for 2 years. The next player on the board is Carlos Correa. The Giants seem to be in on him, but who the hell knows about the Giants? We keep losing out on these big players. But with Correa, the market is the Dodgers, the Braves, something that's going to happen. The Phillies, that's not going to happen now. I can cross them off, I guess. St. Louis, man, maybe. I don't, maybe. Boston, the Cubs. I would say the Mets are off. San Francisco. And now, of course, Trey Turner, he went to the Phillies. I would mention this about the Mets last year with the Phillies. They beat them up pretty good. So just keep that in mind about the Mets and the Phillies. Don't get too worked up about that lineup. Although they did. Who did they sign last night? Who was the pitcher they signed? Oh, Taiwan Walker they signed last night. The fish hobbyist. Oh, my God. Escobar had one good month. But he had a good month in September when it counted. When things were on the line. That doesn't seem to matter to you. And he didn't take his slumping into the game. He didn't have a bad attitude. And he was a good teammate, and he played well defensively. But you don't care about that. They got to 100 wins, and he had but he had a great September. The rest of it, you don't look at the positive. He wasn't horrible, not by my standard. Maybe by your standard. I tell you, there is a big part of this fandom. I don't know if it's with all the fans, but this fandom, there is a big portion of this fandom that needs to lighten up. Okay? Unless teams go 4 for 4, unless players go 4 for 4 every day and make spectacular plays all the time, all you hear are complaints all day long. And a guy like the fish hobbyist will never come and write to me during the season. He'll complain after the season. So he has all these grievances for 40 years that he's had with the Mets. He'll bring up things like Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver, Pat Zachary, players that we've never seen. Most of us haven't. Now, Canna, you mentioned Canna. Canna had a lousy September, but he played great in August. He had a great August. So Canna was good. He had very consistent at-bats until September. But again, if you win 100 games, a guy like the fish hobbyist will never talk about the 100 wins. He'll bitch about the 61 losses. Okay? I've had so many negative comments over the last few days from old Met fans. He must be an old Met. Fish hobbyist must be a really old Met fan, I could tell. Nothing is good in his eyes, ever. They will never talk about the positive. They only talk about every little negative thing that they can get their hands on. And when you bring up, like I said, September with Escobar, they'll say, 1 month. So what do you want, a whole bad year? If you look at his overall numbers, they were not bad. And that's how you look at it there all the time. They played well enough. He played well enough to get 100 wins out of this team. And I notice if the Mets don't win 162, it doesn't matter. Okay? It goes out the window. And that's a lot of the fan bases like, especially the older ones. All right. Justin Verlander, well, he went to the Mets. They have not announced that yet. They will soon, I would think, by the end of the week. That'll be fun. I don't think when they have press conference here in Citi Field. If they do, hopefully he brings Kate with him. Sony 814 Hut, was Escobar good in Arizona offensively? He's been a very solid player. He's a veteran guy who's a hold-the-fort guy. He's a culture guy. It's not always about on the field. We know how bad the Met clubhouse was in 21. Okay? In 22, the Mets had a great clubhouse. That is just as important as what you do on the field. Because we saw how bad it was in 21, and that's a big reason why that team fell apart the way it did in the second half. That's important, too. You just don't, forget about that. But a lot of these fans, they don't look at that stuff. They don't care about that stuff. You got to go 162-0, and if you lose one game, you're trash, you're garbage, trade him. The guy made an error. Throw him out of here. Beat him up, get his family out of here, and beat them up, too. Xander Bogaerts. Been hearing the Red Sox today. We'll see. I think they're a little nervous because Judge went back to the Yankees. It's interesting. Carlos Rodon, the Yankees seem to be pretty hot on him. I don't think he's going to sign with the Yankees. All right, enough. I'm not going to go back and forth, and you're not going to hold down the chat. You complain. Take it. This is not the complaint department, sir. This is the baseball hut, and I don't deal with trolls coming in here complaining about every little ticky-tack thing. Goodbye, skadoosh. Bye-bye. You're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. Go to some other channel that has no idea about how the Mets are, that has no idea about Mets history, has no idea about what's going on in Major League Baseball. Okay? There's two channels in particular that have no idea what the hell they're talking about most of the time. All right? Goodbye. Go in there and complain to them. One of them won't even talk to you, and the other, who the hell knows what's going on with that one? But anyway. Carlos Rodon. A few teams on him. The Dodgers, the Giants still want him. I don't know where the Giants are going to pivot to. Let's see. The Rangers, I don't think so now. It was necessary since they signed Haney. The White Sox, the Mets, that's off the board. The Yankees, Baltimore, I heard, Minnesota. From Roberto, what do you think about the Mets adding Quintana? He's a solid back end of the rotation guy, and he's left-handed. The Mets did not have a regular left-handed presence in the rotation last year. So he is actually a very good pickup for the Mets and by the Mets. I thought it was solid. He makes his starts. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Stony 814, the Yankees fan. Here's the thing about the Yankees clubhouse. That's not a great clubhouse. Okay. When they complain about the fans booing them, then that's not a good clubhouse. From Owen, there you go, fish head, fish brain. Esquire had the third most home runs in 20 and 26 doubles last year. Exactly. The guy is a quality player. Quality individual in the clubhouse. Quality guy defensively. Okay. Enough. I'm not going to go back and forth on Escobar. I won't trade him. I can see the Mets moving him, but I would not move him. Just because of his clubhouse presence and his leadership ability. You need leadership on this team. Nothing new. Yeah, at 5 o'clock we got we have the Rule 5 draft, which is basically the end of the winter meeting. So I'll be on for a little bit. Hopefully we'll get through that, and we'll see who gets moved around. I don't even know these players. I'm going to get all worked up about Jake Magnum getting moved, or Daniel Nunez getting picked up. Hello, a.k.a. Slayer 101. Winter meetings have been really busy. Not really. They've been a really bit of a dud. To be honest with you. Dansby Swanson. I've not heard much of him. I'll tell you, the shortstop, other than Xander Bogaerts, is very quiet. Been very, very quiet. Brandon Nimmo. He's got a lot of teams on him. Colorado, the Mariners, the Giants, the Rangers, the Tigers, Boston, the Blue Jays. We'll see if the Yankees are out of this situation because he's going to want a lot of money. They might be done with that kind of a contract for another outfielder. The Cubs, believe it or not, Cubs actually have been busy the last 2 days. The Dodgers, the Angels, the Rays, and the Astros. From Stoney, what's up with Chris Bass? Are the Mets in on him? Or who's in on him? I don't think the Mets are in on him now. They picked up Quintana. Quintana basically replaced Bassett, to be honest with you. Other than him being left-handed, he's basically gone from the Mets. What the Mets are going to get out of Bassett is a couple of draft picks. Now, they're going to get a couple of draft picks for him because he's got the qualifying offer attached to him. So that's going to have actually a very interesting draft coming up in July because they'll have their number one pick plus the couple picks they got from DeGrom and what they get from Bassett. And we'll see what they get from Nimmo. From Robert, I thought Bassett signed with Minnesota. No. Nope, I haven't seen that. That may have been a prediction by MLB trade rumors. That didn't come from me or anybody else. They make predictions. I was just reporting on it. All right. Kodai Senga. Well, he seems to be of interest to the Mets today. They were very impressed with him. I know Buck was very impressed with him when they had their little Zoom meeting with him last week. There are 6 teams in on him. One is the Mets. The other teams are the Padres, the Cubs, the Giants, of course, the Rangers, of course, and the Boston Red Sox. I don't know where he's going. I think the Mets will sign him. I think he'll sign with the Mets. Just hearing what I was hearing today. From Roberto. You think Senga will go ahead and sign with the Mets? I don't know if I like Bassett going back to the Mets. I can take it or leave him. He pitched well until he didn't pitch well in September and October. His last 2 starts were terrible. I know some people didn't like some of the comments about him complaining about the pressure here. I could take that or leave that. I wouldn't make a big deal out of that, to be honest with you. But we'll see where he goes. I haven't heard really any team with him. Just general teams, really. All the same, like regular, just the same suspects. The Rangers, the Blue Jays, the Cardinals, the Twins, the Phillies. I don't think the Phillies now. The Padres, Boston. Yeah, So, From the Mothman, the Fish was rough. Imagine him as our GM. Fish will be like, sign now, I demand it. And then if you went 0 for 4, fire him. Execute him. Get him out of here. I don't want to see. He'd be worse than Steinbrenner. He'd be like wanting to kidnap this guy and beat the hell out of him. He's a very mean person. Very angry, bitter Met fan. Or just an angry fan, I think. Fire him. Hey, really? Angry Fish. All right. That's nice. A lot of names are off my list. 15 names off this list already on the first page. Jay Martinez. I've heard a couple of teams. I heard early the Guardians, but since they signed Josh Bell, that's probably gone. Pittsburgh, Arizona, and the Dodgers. I heard the Dodgers the other day. Yoli Gurriel. Now, since the Astros picked up Jose Abreu, we'll go through some of the same suspects. The White Sox, the Giants, the Rangers, the Padres, and Tampa. Oh, I hope he goes to the Giants. Oh, and have to deal with the fans out there in San Francisco. I would love that. Justin Turner. We've heard him going back to the Dodgers, but I don't know what the Dodgers have been awfully quiet, haven't they? Dodgers have been very quiet. All the teams other than the Mets and the Yankees, everybody's been very quiet. And the Astros, everybody's been pretty quiet. And the Rangers. So Miami was the new team that's in on Justin Turner, we'll say. Nathan Eovaldi, haven't heard much of his market at all. Cody Bellinger signed with the Cubs on a 1-year deal. That doesn't surprise me. He'll probably play well there. And then when he gets to a point where his value is up, the Cubs will move him. And he'll probably try to push for a contract. He to me, was his performance over the last few years was just too poor for me to stomach him here. Mets could not afford to bring him in here. He hasn't been good enough for a long time. Taijuan Walker. He went to the Phillies. He signed a 4-year, $72 million contract. Is that crazy? Hold on, I need a drink. Andrew Benintendi. Now he's got a lot of teams on him. I actually heard the Yankees earlier that they'll bring him back. The Tigers, the Rockies, Boston, the Mets, Houston, Toronto, Seattle, and Baltimore. Any team that loses out on Nimmo will be going after Benintendi next. He's the next outfielder. And then after that is Michael Conforto. We'll get to Michael in a minute. Noah. I've heard the Giants, the Rangers, the Phillies. The Phillies might be out now. I should probably cross them off. I don't think he'll be going back there. Toronto. So you can see him going back to Blue Jays. Baltimore. That might be out because of the fact they saw Kyle Gibson. Minnesota and Kansas City. Those are two I heard last night. Stony814 says, Haney, the one that Hut hates, sign of a team. I didn't like him. I'm glad the Mets did not sign him. Let him go to the Rangers and their 75 wins that they're going to win next year. I'd mention this again about how cranky the fans been. Somebody wrote to me on the other channel saying that the Mets should worry about the Nationals because the Nationals beat them a couple times in September, and the Mets should worry about them doing damage against the Mets. The Nationals lost 107 games last year, and are probably going to lose just as many. Now, please like this video if you haven't, and if you're coming through for the first time, please subscribe. I'll be back again hopefully tomorrow night. I'll be back again on Friday night talking about the Mets and everything in Major League Baseball. It's a fairly regular show that I do here, as well as do regular videos every day. I forgot to mention him. Jameson Italian got picked up by the Cubs last night too. So the Mets were really hot on him. They really wanted to sign him, and he's gone to the Cubs. That's a guy. Go be on a bad team there, Jameson. That's a good move. That's a good move. Sorry, not sorry. Go to a bad team. Jerickson Profer. I've only heard two teams on him: the Padres and Texas Rangers. Again, Rangers in on everybody. Josh Bell got picked up by the Guardians yesterday on a 2-year, $32 million contract. Boy, his August and September really killed his market. I'll tell you, he had such a great first half and played so poorly. In the second half of the Padres. All right, Jose Quintana, Mets picked him up today. 2 years, $26 million. Let me see, anything new? Okay. Here's the contract I don't understand, and that is Zach Eflin. The Rays picked him up and gave him a 3-year, $40 million contract. I have a question. Why? He's terrible. He's terrible. Terrible. Just hold on a second. I got to add a couple more names to my list before I forget. Trevor Williams is one. I've not heard who he's been talking to, but I think he wants to start. He's been a starter in the past. And Seth Lugo is another guy that wants to start. I would bring him back only as a reliever with the Mets. But I can understand why the Mets don't want to start him because he's not really a starter. At least he wasn't with the Mets. I've heard San Diego with him. Pretty hot and heavy for him. So those are two names from the Mets side that aren't going to be here. But we'll see. Yeah, I don't think Trevor Williams will be back with the Mets. I haven't heard anything with him with the Mets or really any team. He'll go to some team. He'll get a decent contract. He's a good pitcher. He's got good stuff. He's very good. Very good long man. All right. Adam Ottavino, we'll see where he goes. I think he'll come back to the Mets. I think if the Mets re-sign Adam Ottavino and keep pushing for him, David Robertson to pitch the 8th inning, I would be pretty happy with the Met bullpen because then they would have brought in a lot of talent with this trade with Raley today. All right. Michael Conforto. Where the hell is this guy going? Michael Conforto had a 5-year contract offer in front of him before the 2021 season. The dope didn't take it. Not only didn't he take it, folks. Not only didn't he take it, but the Mets were willing to give him a 6th year. We're willing to give him 6 years on a contract. And the son of a gun didn't take it. He decides to play the season. He has a terrible season. Okay? We get to last off season. The off season was basically November and March. He still probably he still could have signed with a team. The month of November, he didn't sign with anybody. The lockout comes, he's locked out. Then in January, I guess he's working out and he hurts his shoulder. I guess he falls during the workout and he hurts his shoulder. And now he's hurt, and then he has to get surgery. And now he's still out there, and I've heard no team specifically, but I'll go run through the names. Now he might be in play for the Mets if they lose Nimmo. So, you sure about that? Are you sure about that? I don't know about that. Hey Hut, did you skadoosh anybody today? Yes, I did. A little while ago, it was a fish. I skadooshed a fish that was angry about the Mets not winning 162 games, and he had Eduardo Escobar for not hitting like 1,000. He sort of ignored the month of September that he had, and just wanted to complain about all season. But then he's never written to me before in this channel, and just wanted to come in here and complain. He's a very angry fish. Yeah, so Michael, he's a very good, I guess, clubhouse guy, as far as I can tell. He is a guy that has become a very good defensive right fielder. He was very good with the Mets. His offense was up and down, as you know. He'd be very hot. He'd be very cold. Took way too many pitches. I would say this. It's very difficult for me to judge how he played with Luis Rojas, because Luis was such a lousy manager. He dragged this entire team down offensively. I would love to see how Buck would handle him and get the best out of him. Because the one thing we learned now with Buck as the manager after the first year is you saw how it was having a professional manager managing these players, especially guys like Jeff McNeil and Lindor. They had terrible years in 21. They didn't get along. They were fighting. And then to see them getting along last year as Buck is the manager, and how productive they were. I mean, Jeff McNeil won a batting title. Francisco Lindor broke his career record of RBIs. He has the Mets record as a shortstop, home runs and RBIs. So I would be very interested to see how the Mets and how Michael would perform as Buck is the manager. I would like to very much see that if I could. But I would like to see that. I mean, I wouldn't mind him coming back, even though I'm not the biggest fan of his. But I think if he had a good manager managing him and a very good coaching staff, let's have a great coaching staff, professional coaching staff. I think he would perform much, much better, probably better in games and better late in the game and with men on base. You sure about this? People should remember them. So not tug on Superman's cape, and you don't spit another win, and you don't mess around. No, you don't. I wouldn't do that. Yeah, You don't come in here and do nothing but complain, because then what it does is it drags the whole chat down, and it's a distraction to me, and it's an annoyance to me. And I don't want to be annoyed when I do these videos and these live streams, because I like doing this. I think you'll like me doing it. Let's see. Let's take a look. It's quiet so far. I can't believe how quiet it's been this winter means crazy quiet. Crazy quiet. All right. Irresistible chicken sandwich. My favorite account. Favorite account name. Really like that trade from Tampa Bay today. We needed a lefty. Agreed. They did. They needed a lefty that can get, and he kills lefties. He really pitches really well against left-handed hitting. 158 batting average. 158 batting average. Yeah, so in the next few minutes, we're going to get the Rule 5 draft. The number one team on this Rule 5 draft is the Nationals. I think this is all done in order of the Mets have number 27. So we'll see if the Mets draft anybody. Go to a couple more comments. Stoney 814. Glad we got a lefty starting pitcher. That was important. Yeah, I mean, getting Quintana was very, very important. He was he's a good starter. He's a professional guy. And the Mets need somebody that was professional in here. Let me see something. And, of course, please like this video and subscribe to the Baseball Hut. From Owen. See if I can get the name straight, especially the first name. What about Masataka Yoshida? He's an outfielder. That is true. But we've not seen him, and I don't know what kind of player he is. I know he's won batting titles in Japan, but I don't know how good he is because I've not seen him. I will never tell you, folks, I'll never tell you the Mets should sign a Japanese player if I haven't seen him. Okay, I'll never say they need this, you never hear me talk like that. I never say the Mets need this and the Mets need that. Or they have to have this guy. I want this guy. I've never seen this Yoshida. And 99% of you have not seen him either. So I do not know what kind of player he is. I don't know. I know he's I guess he's a punch and shooty guy, I guess. He's a high average guy, high on base guy. A little bit of power, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But just going based off some numbers I've seen. But I don't know what kind of player he is. I don't know how he performs late in the game. I don't know how he performs with late inning pressure situations. I don't know how he does well, how he takes, works a count, how much does he walk. There's a lot of things that go into seeing how a player is. And I'll never tell you that I know a player if I've never seen him. Like I said, I'll never do that. That's the one thing I won't do to the audience. I'll never pretend to know about a player if I haven't seen him. It's like with Raley. Raley, I don't remember seeing him pitch against the Mets or any other team. So I'm not going to tell you what he does, what he throws. Now, they did need a lefty. He had a very good year in 22, but before that, it wasn't no sunshine and rainbows, his numbers. So I'm just letting you know that beforehand. Now, Quintana's a different story. I've seen enough of him. He's a solid middle to late rotation guy. You know exactly what you're getting out of him. I know exactly what I'm getting out of him. Number 4 starter, sometimes number 3. He has started series and postseason. And he's pitched a few postseason games in his life. And it's been a mixed bag when he's pitched, to be honest with you. But he did pitch well for the Cardinals against the Phillies in the wild card series. So he did pitch well against them. So that I will point out. He's not a high strikeout guy as far as I know. He's a contact guy. And Mets have a good defense. Let's have a good infield defense. They can live with a guy that's not going to strike out a lot of batters, which is fine. He's had 3 years where he's won 13 games in his career. He sort of has been sort of a guy that's bounced around the last few years, but he pitched really well last year, and the Mets seem to be pretty confident he'll pitch well again. In 2021 he bounced around a little bit, but in 22 he pitched really well with the Pirates and specifically with the Cardinals. So, and he's left-handed, like I said, and he's 33. He'll be 34 next year. He'll be 34, 35. And just looking at his, this contract, it doesn't look like it would be a contract that would be difficult to move going forward. Not that I would think that they would be thinking about moving him in the future, but he is a middle rotation guy, and the back end of the middle rotation guy. That's what he is. Number 4 or 5 star. That's fine. And they need a lefty. Lefty was very important. Stoney says, I got a question. If Bellinger didn't sign a contract, would he be in? No. He's not in the minor leagues. The Rule 5 draft is for players that are in the minor leagues that have a certain amount of years of service time and don't get put on the 40-man roster. So guys you've never heard of are going to be drafted, and maybe one of them, will finish the season with the team. Not every team drafts a Rule 5 guy. Now there is a minor league Rule 5 draft that's today too, but that's we never hear much about that. But in the meanwhile, please like this video. So I expect a couple more moves before this winter meetings is over, specifically with the Mets. You need a starter. You need a little more bullpen help. A lot more bullpen help. I don't know. I don't think Brandon Nimmo will sign anytime soon. I said this in videos in the live stream last night. I expect Brandon to sign probably after the new year. It'll be interesting to see if the Mets go to him now and say, when are you going to sign? I wonder if they'll move on a player before that. All right, I'm going to give you a number. The Mets have about $298 million committed to their payroll now. And that's right now. That doesn't include Brandon Nimmo. That doesn't include Kodai Senga. But Senga would not be counted into the money, from what I understand, because he's an international player. So we're talking about a lot of money, and the Mets are already being taxed. Once they put Verlander and put Quintana on the payroll, and put Raley on the payroll, which he probably is now, they're going to be taxed right now. So we're going to see if Steve Cohen is willing to go above and beyond that to make this team better. Like I said earlier, there was a lot of rumors coming from the New York Post saying that the Mets were going to move Darren Ruff because he's not making a lot of money. But the $3 million they can get it off the payroll, they'll do it. Also, like I said, keep an eye on Marcana. Maybe he gets moved over the next few months because they'll want to move that money. Not that there's a lot of money coming from him, but just keep an eye on that. And also keep an eye on Carlos Carrasco, too. I think he's got $14 million coming to him, if I remember right. Let me go through a couple of numbers. I know the number with Ruff is $3 million. Let me just see how much Carrasco's making. I don't call him Cookie. I don't want to call a grown man Cookie. You call a lady Cookie, not a grown man Cookie. So Carrasco, for 23, has $14 million coming to him. If the Mets were to make a trade, and the Mets had talked about making trades too, if they pick up another starter that makes less money than him, makes less money than Carrasco, don't be surprised they make a move. They move Carrasco out of here, and they make a trade for another starter that is similar to him that makes less money. I could take him or leave him. All right. When he doesn't have his good stuff, he's easily hittable. He's not very good at managing his less than stellar stuff. So just keep that in mind. Let's get back to this. Trey Mancini. I've only heard the Brewers with him. I haven't heard too many teams with him. Been very quiet. Brandon Drury. I've not heard any teams with him, but I've not specifically, but in general, I've heard the Brewers, the Dodgers again, heard them a little bit, the Mariners, San Diego, and Houston. Maybe Houston not so much because they brought in Jose Abreu. I wouldn't mind the Mets bringing him back on a 2-3 year deal. I can deal with that. Then he could be the DH. You could play him a little bit in the outfield a little bit, especially if they lose Nimmo. I mean, he's a pretty good hitter. Like we saw that. Stony at 14 says, "Where has Luke Voigt signed? and is he still a free agent? Yes, he's a free agent. I would not have a problem with him. However, he looks like a right-handed version of Vogelback. Okay, so do you want another? Do you want like another version, a right-handed version of Vogelback? I don't know if you want that. I don't know if you want that. And then is he going to want to be a right-handed DH on this team? How much is he going to? How many bats is he going to get? About 200 at bats with the Mets. He's going to want 500 bats. And he's basically the right-handed version of Vogelback. It's almost like a reflection. They look in the mirror. It's like that meme of Spider-Man looking at one Spider-Man looking at the other Spider-Man. So they're two similar players, except one's right-handed and one's left-handed. And Frazier. Now, I'm not a big fan of his. Okay, all right. I saw him last year when the Mets played all those games against the Pirates. I was not very impressed with him. All right. You talk about you don't see players like this anymore. A real punch and Judy hitter. No power, very few doubles, but he does hit 300. It's the weirdest thing. Stoney, laugh my effing ass off, Hud. You made my day. I make my day every day. I'm glad I made your day. I mean, if you look at it, Vogelback and Voit, they're basically twins. Same body type. Chunky. They look the same. It might be the same guy. You don't know. They could be like twin brothers. Yeah, Adam Frazier, I'm not a big fan of. The only team I've heard with him is the Cubs, and he did not play well in Seattle last year. He's bounced around now. He played in Pittsburgh, and I don't think the Padres were too impressed with him. And then he got moved to Seattle last year, and the Mariners weren't too impressed with him, so they moved him out. And to be honest with you, he didn't do much other than that first series against the Blue Jays. D. Garcia 0426 at Rob. How about who are you talking to? Was there Robin here? How about trade for B. Reynolds? Well, who are you gonna give up there, D. Garcia 0426? They're gonna want Brett Beatty. They're gonna want Ronnie Mauricio. They're gonna want one of the Met starters, one of the Met pitchers down the minors. They're gonna probably want one of the catchers. They're probably going to want Parada or Alvarez. You can do that. I don't know if I would do it. Especially after they said they weren't going to move any of their prospects. If they move one of their prospects, it'd be Ronnie Mauricio. But I haven't heard anything, really. I haven't heard any. I mean, really, I've not heard any trade candidates with the Mets. I've heard nothing. And I would tell you if I heard something. I haven't heard anything. The closest I've heard to the Mets trading is Darren Ruff and James McCann. That's all I've heard. Even Mark Canada haven't heard anything. I've heard that in the media, but not the Mets. They're not saying the Mets are moving players. Andrew Haney, he thankfully went to the Rangers. They'll get to that 75-76 win total. That the Rangers are trying to change the culture down there. Gene Segura. I only heard Baltimore, but I don't know what's going on with them. I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to Milwaukee. He's a good player, but I don't know. Mitch Haniger, who wasn't a free agent for long, he got non-tendered. He signed a big contract with the Giants, 3 years. I kind of had a feeling once they made that trade, once they made that signing last night, that Judge wasn't going there. I would have gone looking for him. I mean, if the Mets hadn't, since Nimmo's going to be out there for a while, I wouldn't have minded the Mets bringing in Haniger. You could have put him in right field or left field or whatever. We'll see. Ross Stripling, I've heard him with the Mets, but I think they're more on Senga now. Andrew Chafin. I think with them getting Raley, I don't think they're going to be going at the Chafin now. I don't think that's going to happen now. So I think that's kind of out the window. We've been talking about this guy for like 2 years. Let's get him last year. So that doesn't look like that's going to happen now. Dom Smith, our buddy Dom Smith, the Cubs. I heard the Cubs last night. Heard the Cubs last night that they wanted him, but they wanted to trade for him anyway. Let him go to Woke Central there. I mean, let him go to the Cubs. Boy, that's some clubhouse. Stroman, oofa. That goofiness going on in that clubhouse and those fans. Do they care that they've been bad all these years? We know they won in 2016. They won the whole thing. But it doesn't seem like they care anymore. It's like, they won that. Let's go to the ballpark. Let's have a beer. Take me out to the ball game. And, of course, Trevor Williams, I mentioned, and Seth Lugo. It seems like Lugo has the Padres after him. Roberto says, please, Hud, we don't need another Pillsbury doughboy in our team. They should have gotten rid of the Pillsbury boy. Wow. He did hit well when the Mets picked him up. I would mention this about Vogelback. He hit well against the Braves, and he came awfully close in that first game of hitting a home run. He came awfully close to hitting the ball out of the ballpark, I guess in the first inning. So he played well against the Padres. He had good at-bats against the Padres. So he was not afraid of those games. He wasn't like a deer in the headlights with him. He actually performed pretty well in postseason, and in the pressure games for the Mets. So his games against so we all goof on his size and all that. He had very good at bats against the Braves and against the Padres, and we shouldn't forget that. That's got to be remembered. We goof on his size and everything else, and how goofy he is looking, but he did play well in these postseason spots. Let me just go through the numbers. That's crazy. I could have sworn he did better against them. He went 0 for 7 in that series against them. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that he went 0 for 7, but he had good at-bats against the Padres. I know that. And he had good at-bats against the Braves. So his performance was not bad in those big spots. Just going through a couple of things here. This is just something about the Orioles. Orioles made that deal, I guess, the other day. They signed Kyle Gibson. According to an account called Dan Connolly, as winter means continuing the second-tier pitchers come off the board, it's become increasingly clear that the Orioles aren't planning to give lengthy deals to free agents. At this juncture, I'd be surprised if they go beyond 2 to 3 years to anyone if they go that far. That doesn't surprise me because they're not quite ready yet. They're not quite ready yet. Not quite ready yet. The Orioles. Not quite ready to bring in a big pitcher. They're not quite ready to bring in a big bat. They're not quite there yet. They won 83 games. I know, I'm sure you don't care about this. But they won 83 games last year when they've been so bad for so many years, which was nice to see them playing well. I heard something weird last night. That there's talk down there that they're going to leave Baltimore. I can't believe that. But I heard that. Read that last night. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We need a team in Baltimore down there. But they're a team that's on the rise, and they shouldn't be making bad deals for players that aren't gonna really prove them really next year. They might not quite be ready yet. They have a lot of talent down there. They have all these. They have Gunnar Henderson, who they just called up. Rutschman, who's one of the best catchers in baseball already. He's probably the best catcher in the American League. to be honest with you. If not all baseball, but they are very talented. They're going to be very difficult for all those teams in that division to deal with. And obviously they got Holiday down there, Matt Holiday's son. Stoney says the Red Sox are interested in Seth Lugo. Okay, I'll write them down. Although with you, Stoney, I would mention that you told me last night that the Mets were in on Judge, and I said they weren't. And I said they weren't. So, what the hell I do? Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if the Mets lose Brandon, where they go from there. Like I said, they're gonna have to figure out what to do with some of the money here, especially if they bring back Brandon. But if they lose Brandon, where do they go from here? I'm not big on Benintendi. I could take him or leave him. I don't like Kevin Kiermaier. The Mets don't go anywhere. They were interested. That was a story last night about it. I would not go anywhere near him. He can't hit. They got to get people in here that can hit. They need more offense, not less offense. And they need a guy that is going to hit for power, get on base, and do what Brandon does. So just bring back Brandon. Let's see. I want to see the Mets pick up anybody in the Rule 5. I don't think they will. Here's something interesting. It's about the White Sox. The White Sox have told interested teams they have no plans to trade shortstop Tim Anderson. Oh, thank God. I don't know what's going on there in Chicago. Everybody's woke in Chicago. Keep an eye on Lucas Giolito. He could be moved at some point because he's got 1 year left on his contract. He's a free agent going into next season. So keep an eye on him. Just keep that in mind. Tim Anderson, one of the best players since Jackie Robinson. Don't tell me. I'm not saying that. He said that. He calls himself the modern day Jackie Robinson. That's what that kerfuffle was with Josh Donaldson. He called him Jackie, and he called him Jackie because he was making fun of him. He wasn't calling him Jackie out of a racist comment. He was calling him Jackie because he was making fun of him because he was mocking him. And instead of Donaldson coming out and said that he was mocking him, remember last summer when they got into that big push? But that's what that was about. And instead of Donaldson saying, look, I'm making fun of him because what he said was so ridiculous, I was making fun of him. But instead he made it seem like it was a racist comment when it wasn't, and he backed down. Because everybody told him to keep quiet and shut up. He's on the trade market, by the way. I think he's trying to move them. Him and Gleyber Torres. All right. Some of the trade candidates got Brian Reynolds. These are the only players I've heard. Brian Reynolds, James McCann, and Sean Murphy. Those are the only players I've heard on the trade market that have been, and Liam Hendricks. That's about it. And now Dan Ruff. So just checking out a couple things. Now, if you're watching on replay, please, of course, write to me and leave comments in the comments section. Let me take a look here. Seems like the Nationals picked up a Rule 5 player. His name is Tad Ward. He's the right-handed pitcher from the Red Sox in the Rule 5 draft. Those 92, 96 plus side. Who the hell knows? The hell knows what these guys. Because these guys not good enough on the 40-man roster, and they didn't decide to put them on there. Yeah, I mean, I'm still reading stuff about Nimmo and Senga. They're still interested in bringing back Nimmo, but I don't know how long they're going to wait on him. Because if I think what's going to happen, he's going to wait till January. He's going to wait past New Year's. So the Mets are going to be willing to have like an opening there in center field, and you got all these other outfielders that aren't great, but they're available, and they're going to let them walk. I mean, they lost Cody Bellinger, although they didn't want Bellinger back here with the Mets. You know, are they going to allow Benintendi to walk? You know, I mean, are they going to? I mean, because Benintendi's a good outfielder, but he's a left fielder. He's not a center fielder, and he's not as good as Nimmo. So I don't. You can't wait forever on Brandon. That's the problem with Brandon. He's going to wait a long time. And the Mets going to be willing to do that. I don't know. Let's see. And he's got such a big market on him. He's got half the league on him. If not more. All the analytics departments, he lights up the room, I mean, he had a wins above replacement according to Baseball Reference of 5.0. That's very high, That's actually selected a pitcher. The Mets selected pitcher Zach Green from the Yankees in the first round of the Rule 5 draft. He struck out 96 batters and 68 in the third innings at AAA last year. Boy, and the Yankees let him go. Interesting. Interesting. Let me see if I can find him. Just going to look him up. So the Mets picked up Zach Green from the Yankees. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's 26 years old. So he's up there in age. He pitched for Scranton-Willsbury last year. In the International League, it's a AAA affiliate for the Yankees. He had an ERA of 4.35. And 68 in the third innings, he struck out 96 batters. Gave up 26 earned runs, 11 home runs. Holy shit. That's a lot of home runs. 32 walks. 32 walks. That's a lot of walks, too. 4.2 walks per 9 innings. And 7 hits per 9 innings. So he doesn't seem like he gets hit, but he does give up a lot of walks and gives up a lot of home runs. That's a bad combination. No wonder why they've kept him unprotected. Let's kind of look at him as a project. So he's on the 40-man. I think the Mets now have 37 guys, 35 guys on the 37. I'm trying to think here. 36 spots on the 40-man roster right now. So they have 4 more spots on the 40-man roster that they need to fill. Verlander's on there, Quintana's on there, and of course Raley's on there. So now we got 4 spots that need to be filled with all the moves they made today. And I don't think they're done yet, but we'll see. Interesting. They're just picking off these Yankee relievers like it's nothing. Here's from Anthony DeComo. The Mets did not lose standout defensive outfielder Jake Magnum in the Rule 5 draft, as some fear in the organization left him unprotected. That means he can report to camp as a possibility to make the Mets opening day bench. Okay. Who knows? Who knows if he can hit? Got to hit. Don't care how he does defensively. If he doesn't hit, it doesn't matter. I'll say this to them blue in the face. When the Mets don't hit, they don't win. And I don't care what kind of defensive player the Mets have. The guy, the SOB, the son of a bitch don't hit, it doesn't matter. We want to see Met players that can hit. If they're everyday players, we want to see them hit. Mets always get enough good pitching. The defense is always pretty solid for the most part. It's gotten much better over the last 2 years. But this team needs guys that can hit. If Magnum can hit, great. If he can't hit, then he's another Kurt Neuenheisen. We don't need that. All right? Don't need a guy that can't hit. Simple as that. If you want my opinion. And I know you do this while you watch. Gotta hit. Let's have to find people that can hit. Farm system, minor leagues, drafting, all of it. Also, the Daniel Nunez, he was the other guy. He was the other player that all the gurus, all the minor league gurus were concerned the Mets are going to lose. So he's with the Mets still too. So that's good. At least they didn't lose them. But it tells you what Major League Baseball, what some of the teams think of the Mets, these two particular prospects, quote unquote, how they're thought of as if they don't get picked up. You know. Yeah, the Mets just announced Zach Green. So it'll be interesting to see really what goes on here. I mean, this has got to be one of the most boring winter meetings we've seen in a long time. Aside from the Mets being busy today and the Yankees being busy, it's been a bit of a dud. This has been a dud, an absolute dud of winter meetings. Hello, this is from Ramon Isa. If we don't get Senga and Nimmo, give me your opinion on the plan B. Thanks. Well, Senga, I think they're going to get. But if they don't get him, maybe Chris Bassett. I can live with him. But he's looking. Rumors he wants more than 3 years. You want to give him 3 years? And Nimmo, if they lose Nimmo, Benintendi, Killmeyer, which I would not do. I can live with Benintendi. I would give Benintendi a 2-3 year deal. I wouldn't get crazy with. Now he's younger. Now I wouldn't mention he's 28 years old. He's a little bit younger than Brandon is, and most of these free agents. Okay, but he's a different kind of player. He's a defensive left fielder, big time defensive left fielder. He's more of a punch and Judy guy. He does hit for high average. His on base is not nearly as high as Brandon's is. He's not as high energy a player as Brandon is. So one thing I like about Brandon is a high energy guy. Benintendi isn't like that. He's got experience. Benintendi. He's been postseason. He's been to the World Series. He's got a lot of good qualities to him. That's what we're talking about. Or they may go down a different route. Maybe Michael Conforto. Maybe on a 1 year deal. Like I was saying earlier, I would like to see how Buck would manage him, because we saw how well, how improved Jeff McNeil and Francisco Lindor were under Buck. As we know, Francisco's daughter loves Buck. You know, she loves Buck. And we saw how big of a difference it was to have him as the manager as opposed to the very inept and over his head Luis Rojas. So we've seen. I would like to see Michael here just for that, just to experiment and see how well he would play on the Buck. That's if they lose him, and you wouldn't have to give up a lot of money for him. You'd probably take less money for 1 year. You know, and we know kind of character he is. I would like to see how he would do here, and maybe play him a little bit in center field. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean that's a little bit of an unknown, just to answer your question. And then after that, like I said, I wouldn't go near Kevin Killmeyer. If the Rays non-tendered a player, you stay the hell away from him. Okay? You stay as far away from a player as you can, if you can. Because when they get rid of a player, that guy's shot. He's done. That's why I'm a little leery about this trade with Raley today. Muttley and Love, Hut, the Mets' focus so far has been pitching. How do you see them addressing their offensive needs, and how soon? Well, does the season begin tomorrow? No. No, it does not. So we have until what? End of March? That's when you address it. And even if they don't address it, they still have the trading deadline. If that's an answer for you. There's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of urgency in the offseason. Okay? This is not how it works. But they do need more offense, even if they brought in them. But they're now over the luxury tax. So they have to figure out how to pare some of this money out of here. Uh, I mean, they brought in good players last year that were really character guys, that were everyday players. Can's a character guy. Escobar's a character guy. Uh, Marte's a character guy. These guys that are really, they're all about winning. They're all about the team. That's why I got annoyed with that Fish guy earlier because he was going after Escobar. All he wanted to talk about was what he's doing, the numbers on the field. Sometimes the players more than just the numbers. Sometimes we saw that with Michael Kodai, how important he was to the Met clubhouse when David Wright got hurt, and he didn't perform the way he should have on the field because he was done. The Mets got him, but we had a chance to sort of see how he was in the clubhouse and how important that is. That's another important aspect towards. From Mario Consiglio, the issue I have with Nemo is he wants $100 million. I don't. What? Is it your money? Is it your money? It's really the issue is with the ownership. If the market's saying $100 million, there's nothing you can do about it. Either you match it, or you don't match it, or exceed it. It's not your money. It's not my money. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the money. To me, it's always more the years. How many years are you willing to give him? He's probably going to look for 7 years. I saw this thing earlier about Carlos Rodon. He's looking for 7 years. I wouldn't do that. That's the problem with some of these guys. Trey Turner got 11 years. Are his legs going to hold up for 11 years? Because most of his game is based on his legs and his ability to run and steal. Mario says, we'd rather take Benintendi personally. Well, I'm sorry. Nimmo's better than Benintendi. Oh, for less, I still want. From Ramon, do you see Boxberger as a setup? Who the hell's Boxberger? Because I think Chafin is not coming. No, Chafin is not coming now because they made this trade with the Rays today. I don't know who Boxberger is. Who's Boxberger? Ramon? I think Ottavino's probably going to come back here with the Mets. And if I were running the Mets front office, I would really go after David Robertson still. He still has stuff left. You can pitch him in the 8th inning and in the 9th inning if you need him. That's how I look at it. Let's see anything new here. Here's from the Dodgers. They're not pursuing Carlos Correa. Interesting. That didn't surprise me since they had this. Issue. This issue from the past with Correa. Well, we know that Turner's better than Emma, but Turner's not coming to the Mets. Mario, Turner's not coming to the Mets. He's going to the Phillies. And the Mets are not signing Rodon because they signed Verlander. They didn't want to get stuck on a big contract with Rodon. That's why they signed Verlander to a 2-year with a 3rd-year option. Because the Mets don't want to invest a lot of money into these long-term deals with these pitchers because they want to be able to develop their pitching in the minor leagues so that they're selecting in their draft. They're signing these high-end, potentially great pitchers, even at their older age. The Mets do not have much in their farm system in terms of their pitching. And these guys won't be ready until 24, 25. So that's why they signed Verlander. And they weren't. I don't think they were really interested in signing. Now, Senga's a different story because he's younger. He hasn't really had the kind of. He's more of he might be a better pitcher than Rodon, from what I've read. Senga's looked upon as a middle rotation guy, number 3 starter. Could do number 1 things. He can tap out 100 miles an hour, but usually he's in the 95, 96 range. Like I said, I haven't seen him. Um, Trey Turner's a better player than Brandon Nimmo. If it was up to me, I would have gone after Trey Turner. But Turner wants to play shortstop. He's going to play shortstop with the Phillies. Okay. I think he would have been a very dynamic player here on this team. And you could have let him off with no problem. You could bat him third with no problem. You could bat him in the middle of the lineup. Harold Reynolds yesterday was comparing him to Paul Molitor. And that's a pretty good comparison. It's a pretty good comparison. Because when Molitor was younger, he could run. But and Rodon, Rodon's got a good arm. He's left-handed, but they signed Verlander. They have Quintana. Now they're going to go try to get Senga. If they can't get Senga, probably Bassett, I would think. Now, Bassett's market, I don't know where the market is because we've heard nothing on him. Nothing. No, I've got teams on here, but it's all the same suspects of teams, It's really the same 4 or 5 teams that are on him, which the Mets are on with him too. So I don't see, what was I talking about? About Nimmo and Benintendi. So Benintendi's not nearly as good as Brandon is. Because Benintendi, he doesn't get on. He's not a high walk guy. He's not a high energy guy like Brandon is. Brandon's like about as high of an energy guy as you're going to get. Like I said, I don't get too worked up about the money. It's more about the years. If you can get Benintendi on a 3-year deal, and you don't wait for Brandon, I can live with that. But he's not going to be center. He's not going to be a center fielder. He's going to be a left fielder. Now he's a good left fielder. He's a Gold Glove left fielder. So that's the issue. If Brandon leaves, you got to put someone in center. If you've decided at that point that Brandon is gone, you put Marte. Do you want Marte in center field? He's not going to be able to play 160 games now. He played 120 games the last 2 years. He missed his time. And last year he was in right field. And now you're going to move Canada into right field at this point? I don't like all these moving pieces in the outfield. They were very stable in the outfield last year. And here's the thing about Marte. He's not going to want to bounce back and forth between right field and center field. He said last year to Buck, just leave me in right field or center field. Don't bounce me back and forth. He told Epler that. He told the front office, don't bounce me around back and forth. Just keep me in one place, So he wasn't too happy that they decided to put him in right field. Mara says, you know what? If Nimmo leaves, go Grace for Reynolds. Well, here's the thing about Reynolds. You're going to give a Parada, Mauricio, Vientos, one of the starting pitchers that the Mets have in the minors, plus whatever else they want. I don't know if you're going to do that. You're going to rip apart the Met farm system, which is struggling to get good. Now, they had a great draft last year in 22, and they should have a very good draft again in 23 because they're going to pick up a whole bunch of draft picks. If Bassett signs with a team, they're going to pick up draft picks for him. They're going to pick up draft picks for losing DeGrom. And if they lose Nimmo, they're going to pick up draft picks, the 4th round, the 10th round. So they're going to get a multiple amount of players coming in here, multiple amounts of talent coming in here. But that's asking a lot out of your farm system for this year. And they signed these starters, Scherzer and Verlander, to sort of hold the fort in terms of the pitching staff, because that way they can develop. Some pitching in the minors. No name Anand. What about Randy Ozarena? What about him? He's not getting moved. If the Rays are moving him, that means he's not any good anymore. If he's staying there, they think he's good. How about Texas Rangers, Adola Garcia? Again, the Rangers are trying to be good. Why would they trade their best player? I sound like Mike Francesa. Why would they do that? Tom Smith, he's smoking something. Mauricio from Reynolds, one-on-one. Sure, I'd do anything if it was a dream world. Yeah, okay. No name on it. Cedric Mullins. The Baltimore Orioles are a team on the rise. I don't see them moving a young player at this point. Okay? And Cedric Mullins, if you look at him and just look at him and Brandon Nimmo, that's a step backward. I've seen his numbers. He's not a high on base guy. He's not going anywhere. This is like the new Buxton, Brian Buxton. Like for 2 years, the YouTubers were complaining about Buxton. They wanted in on the Mets, and he couldn't play. He's either hurt or he plays terrible. Cedric Mullins is a good player, but he's not as good as Nimmo, and he's not going anywhere. A no-name says, or any good AAA player center field from well, you know, I don't know who triple. I don't know who that is. Just throwing names out there, but again, but they'll probably, if they lose Nimmo, they'll probably put Marte in center, and they'll probably get a defensive guy to be his backup. For Mario, even if you sign Nimmo, how did you improve your offense? The same from last year. You need a bat. Well, that's true. But Nimmo wasn't the problem. Nimmo wasn't the problem. Nimmo wasn't the problem. But why take away from the offense if Nimmo leaves? You take away from the offense. He was not the problem last year. No name on it. 34 stolen bases compared to how many Nimmo has. House. Well, Nimmo, if the stolen bases doesn't translate into runs scored, then who cares if he steals bases? He scored 100 runs. Cedric Mullins did not score 100 runs. He's never stolen 100 runs. Okay? No, this guy, there's no name. He's funny. I got to put this up. Murphy for McCann. Now, first of all, Murphy is one of the best catchers in the American League. And he's been good for the last few years. Okay? The guy's he's the best defensive catcher in the American League. James McCann is a backup catcher. And he's played terrible the last 2 seasons. Sean Murphy's getting moved, but the A's are going to get a lot. They're going to get a lot for him. Okay? Murphy's going to go soon. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten traded yet. I should have asked my connection to the A's. I should have asked him what's going on with the A's. Haven't had a chance to. I didn't even think of it. Oh, here's something weird about this pitcher the Mets picked up in the Rule 5 draft. His name is Zachary Green, but his middle name is Blue. Zach Blue Green. Mario says just start Alvarez. Okay, he's 20 years old. He's 20 years old. Mets kind of rushed him up. I don't think you noticed that. They kind of rushed him up in October. They put him in a bad position. They had him start against the Braves. They shouldn't have done that. They should have brought him up a week before. He's there, but he's not there. You know what I'm saying? And I have no problem playing Nito every day. I really don't. I know some people probably gasped. I have no problem with Nito playing more. He played pretty well in September and October. I had no issue with him. He's tough out late in the game. And he does a lot of little things well. No name. I have no name on. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Nimmo is fast. Kevin is fast. He might turn into what his name on the Braves now, who used to be on the Mets. What are you talking about? No name. I have no idea what you're talking about. Hold on, I need a drink. No name says the Don Santos guy has 62 stolen bases on the Mets single A. That's single A. That's not the major leagues. And there's going to be more stolen bases in baseball next year, by the way. No name says this. Who's better, Khalil Lee or Jake Magnum? I've never seen Jake Magnum. I've never seen him. And Khalil Lee's not something to write home about. Have you seen Magnum? No, of course not. Most people haven't seen any of these minor leaguers. All right. The Mets have selected right-handed pitcher Wilkin Ramos from Pittsburgh in the minor league phase of the 2022 Rule 5 draft. All right. Greg Zeman says Nimmo scored 100 runs because Marte Lindor and Alonso bat behind him. That's an RBI stat. Nimmo stole 3 bases this year. Right. The stolen base only counts if he scored runs on it. He stole 3 stolen. He had 3 stolen bases. The stolen base, it's fun to watch it, but unless you score on a stolen base, it's a useless stat sometimes. You know, Ricky was great at it. Tim Raines was great at it. Vince Coleman was great at it. Jose Reyes was great at it. But most of the time, if you don't score runs, it doesn't matter if you steal a base. You got to score. Okay? You got to put pressure really, the point is to put pressure on the pitcher. But you got to score runs. That's another byproduct of it. How many runs would had Brandon scored? How many more runs would he have scored if he had, say, 20 stolen bases? I couldn't tell you. And from these 3 stolen bases that he had during the season, how many times did he score? Probably none. Maybe 1, maybe. You know, and he did most of that in the second half, those 3 stolen bases. He didn't steal a base in the first half. So, I mean, it's a stat that's kind of weird. No name. Nebo's very, you kind of like, hey, please, and you write their names right. Because I want to read how you wrote it. Nebo is very fast. He could do more than 3 stolen bases. Well, apparently he doesn't think that. I don't know who Nebo is. Please. Write their names right. Or say their names. Don't say he or what. I don't know what you're talking about. It's just a simple thing. Mariner says defensively his arm is off when he plays so deep. Okay, but his defensive metrics have gotten better. Okay? Yeah. I mean, why are you throwing shade at the guy? The guy's a good player. Nitpicking about it. Nemo's a good player. Is he a winning player? Yes. Has he become a bad defensive player? Yes. Will he be missed if he leaves? Yes. That's how you look at it. Is he going to get a lot of money? Yes. He's going to get a lot of years? Yes. From No Name, Ahmed Rosario. He still got his name wrong. Ahmed Rosario is fast, but he fails as a center field. He fails as a center fielder, and he's not a good base stealer either. You know. Thank you, Nimmo. Thank you. Not Nemo. Not Nebo. At Rob. Who's at Rob? I need another one. What's going on with the chat today? At Rob. Wasn't the Mets in play for Judge? No, they weren't. They were never going to get him. They let it be known they weren't interested in him. At Rob. Who's at Rob? I'm the Hut. This is at the Hut. It's a lively chat, isn't it? You don't get this from that Rob guy, do you? Yes, I saw that. Tommy Hunter's back. Yes. I'll tell you what. He was kind of goofy the first year, but with Buck as the manager, there's a little more seriousness to him now. Strange stat from Greg Zeman. Mets that stole the most were Marte and Lindor, the guys batting behind them. Exactly. No name. Who cares why? Who cares if he steals bases? As long as he scores runs, gets on base, scores runs, and takes a lot of pitches, that's all that you need out of a leadoff hitter. The stolen base is very overrated. It's only good if, it's the excitement factor. But it's beyond the excitement factor, it's got to translate into runs. Simple as that. All right. I got some nut job on the other side. Hold on a second. He's getting sent off. He's getting sent off. A guy named Fred Williams, his old fart. Some old Met fan. He's going to get sent off to the Phantom Zone. Now, please, in the meanwhile, please like this video and subscribe to the Phantom Zone. I mean the fan. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. The hell's the matter with me? Old fart. Get a life. Yeah, I tell you, these cranky old Met fans, boy, they don't stop complaining. Send him off packing very quickly. Bye-bye. He's gone. What a nut job. All right. Here's from Aaron. How you doing, Aaron? I am very thankful we have Steve Cohen and we are not the Yankees. That is true. That is true. I mean, really, that's really the difference. I mean, the Mets have the highest payroll in baseball now. Now no name is just going to go around. We'll get to you in a minute. D. Garcia, what's your name? My name is the Baseball Hut. It is the Hut. Okay? Why are you coming in here saying Rob? Okay, I'm very rarely on camera. I don't look like that potato. I mean, I don't look like the guy Rob. Okay? Under any circumstances. I'm goofy looking, and I sound goofy, and I've got a very thick accent. A very thick New York accent. Okay? Not anything like that goofball. Sorry, not sorry. And I'll say not sorry for a very simple reason. Okay? Because I've been inviting a lot of YouTubers on my show, and I don't care if somebody comes on, doesn't come on, but if I write to you, if I write to people behind the scenes, can you come on my show? The professional thing to do is to write back and say, no, thank you, or thank you. It is not silence, which is what I got when I invited Rob onto my show. Okay. I invited him a month and a half ago, to come on my show and talk about the Mets. All right. I very rarely complain about other YouTubers, but I find that to be very rude. Okay. Now, I like to go on channels if I can, so I work a lot. Today I'm not working today. So I don't have a problem going on the baseball shows because it's just less weirder. It's less weirder than on the comic book stuff. But I think he might be a bit of a comic book fan just by the fact that he completely blew me off. I don't care for people being rude to me. And that's why I'm not a big fan of him or his show or anything that he does. Hate to be mean, but I'm sure he's grabbing his arm someplace because I know he watches. And he follows me on Twitter. He's a guy, he is a, how can I sort of say it? He's a bit of an elitist as a fan. We'll leave it at that. Hate to be mean, but I have no problem being mean. What am I talking about? I don't get like this on this side. I keep my mouth shut when it comes to the YouTubers on this side because most of them are pretty cool. For the most part. I only had one bad interaction with a YouTuber. He doesn't do any. The Mofo guy. He doesn't do any Mets videos anymore. He was a jerk, big time jerk. Very passive aggressive, extremely passive aggressive, and a troublemaker. Tom Smith says, "God forbid they ever know about old time baseball working counts, bunts, sac flies, basic fundies." So that's why I like Nito, because he bunts, and he never really bunted before Buck got here. That's why I like Nemo so much, because he does all those little things. From Frank Mercurio, I'm a Mets fan since '62. This was a great year to watch the Mets. Think back to some of the very exciting ones out of the 101 wins. Exactly. Frank, I'm going to highlight you because your age group, some in your age group give me such a hard time. It's this sort of Joe Beningo attitude of, if the Mets don't win, I'm going to make threatening comments on the radio. I'm going to make threatening comments online. I'm going to make threatening comments on the internet. I'm going to make threatening comments on Twitter. I'm going to make threatening comments on the radio. I'm going to call up these different shows and make these comments. Like everybody's Jerome from Manhattan. You know, that crazy call used to complain about the Yankees. But I've been getting such cranks over 2 years. And it's really the fans of that. 65 seems to be the year. I had one today who's a fan since 67. But you get the idea that the Mets have to go 162-0 and not lose any games and not make any outs and really cannot do right. You know, they can't do wrong. No Name Anand wants to know, where does I guess all this chat and go, who knows? Tom Smith, I hope you're not meaning me. I am Frank Adrian. It's okay. Yeah. Well, as long as you're not grumpy, you're not cranky. It's not all. It's just, but I noticed that's the one that causes a lot of problems. And it caused a lot of problems here the first 2 years of the show. All right. From Aris Soto. Did the Mets sign Senga? No. Nope. Not that I know of. Let's take a look. Let's take a look on the side here. I don't see anything. Doesn't look like they did. That's from John Morosi. The Giants have spoken with Carlos Correa's representatives about the free agent shortstop this week, sources say. Credit to Ken Rosenthal for linking the Giants and Correa earlier today. Bullshit. What a dope. This guy's got to give Carlos Baerga credit because he said this last night on Instagram. What's the matter with these guys? He's the one that mentioned Correa and the Giants. I don't think he's going with the Giants. I think that'd be another team another player that won't go to the Giants. Giants in a weird spot because they said it today. You know, they had Bonds all those years where the fans watched Bonds, and then they had all those championships, and now they want to rebuild that team with a big player, and they can't get one. They didn't get Stanton. They didn't get Harper a few years ago, and then they lost out on Judge again. From Aaron Gandhi, Correa is definitely signing with the Giants. How do you know that, Aaron? Oh, because the card, yeah, that's true. But Baerga got half right. He said that the Giants were going to sign Aaron Judge. No Name says, does this chat cost money? What, like get a super chat? Hey, you want to send me a super chat? Great. Should be a $sign where you write. Does this chat cost money? No. You can talk, you can listen, and it's free. But you want to send me a super chat, it's up to you, sir. And or madam. Or a furry little creature in between. Oh, you want to send me a super chat? Great. Let's see something. You read just something from SI.com. The Mets are considering the possibility of signing both Brandon Nimmo and Kodai Senga. According to SNY's Andy Martino, both Senga and Nimmo want to be Mets, the teams would consider it. With the Mets payroll hovering around 300, the club is open-minded to stretching past their budget, says Martino. The Mets signed left-hander Jose Quintana on a 2-year deal. Blah blah blah. Senga will likely draw between 15 and 20 million annual in a multi-year deal. As for Nimmo, he will at least draw $20 million across a multi-year deal as well. There has been some pessimism regarding the Mets' chances of retaining him, whose market is robust. There are at least 8 to 10 teams in on him, as the center field is in high demand and will come cheap. But if he and Senga want to be Mets, the team will consider going over budget to sign both players. Okay? We kind of knew that. Mario, who would you put as at DH for the Mets now? Well, Vogelback's the left-handed version. Right now, I would think that it would be Alvarez. Alvarez and maybe somebody else they'll pick up. They're going to pick up somebody. You got to have some kind of veteran there, and I think they're going to move Darren Ruff. I think. No name again. Mets need a lead runner like Trey Turner. Well, didn't they have what's his name? The hell was his name they had? Aaron, off topic. Personally, I think the Padres are a dumb organization and are trying to do things they don't have to do. I agree with you on that, Aaron. I 100% agree with you. The Padres, they go after every big player, and look where it's gotten them. The only reason they beat the Mets is because it's a bad matchup for the Mets. Mets struggle against them during the season, and they struggled against them in the postseason. Tons of Met killers on. Oh, Terrence scored. Thank you. They had it. I'll get it right. Sometimes you forget. Mets had an elite runner, Terrence Gore. They even had Terrence Gore, and they didn't go further in postseason. Oh, great. I tell you, John Heyman either needs to get rest or figure out his stupid fucking tweets. Let me read you this. This is so stupid. This guy's such an idiot. I got to post. All right. Okay. Here's what it's so stupid. John Heyman just tweeted this out. I'm reading this to you exactly how he posted this just now. Coke Hamels, not Cole Hamels. Coke, Coke. Still only 38. Would like to pitch in 2023. His longtime agent John Boggs said last pitched in 2020. Again, Coke Hamels, not Cole. This goes up there with arson. And right now, this is 1 minute into this tweet, and he's got over 500 responses. Almost 600 responses and over 450 likes. I'm going to like it too. Oh my God. What is with this guy? That is just too funny. Oh my goodness. Coke Hamels. All right, let me get back to the chat. Yes, Coke Hamels. Coke Hamels. All right, let me get to the chat. I sort of fell behind it. Please like this video, of course, and subscribe to the Baseball Hut. I wonder what point he already deleted it. Coke Hamels has been deleted. And now SMY is making fun of him. Martin and Rob's making fun of him now. They just like.
I'm just reading the mentions now because I don't really care about Coke Hamels coming back. Yeah. Just, hey, John, lay off the coke and the arson, bro. The arson. What are we doing?
My goodness. All right, let me get back to the chat. I'm sorry. Either he has to get some rest, or he needs to get a new phone, or maybe he got a new phone and it's not auto corrected. Sorry about that, folks. Cold camels. Let me get to the chat. I'm sorry. Let me get to the chat. I'm all screwed up here. And meanwhile, please like the video. Coke Hamels. Where's Pepsi Hamels? All right. This is from Aristotle. How much Mets pay? How much is the Mets payroll this year? It's like I think it's like 298. It's getting awfully close to 300. No names, just throwing names out there. No P. Crow Armstrong. Okay. Hob Abreu. Hi, Hob. It's funny you mentioned that. I mentioned this before. What's up, Hut? Do you think if Senga signs that makes Carrasco a trade candidate? That's a possibility. He's making $14 million. And I bring him up in case the Mets, because they might have to move some of this payroll. They got a lot of payroll now. And I would think that I'm not a big fan of Carrasco anyway. They could move him, but at his age, I mean, what are you going to get for him? And he did pitch well last year, but is it a situation that are they going to pivot and make a move for a player that is a free agent after next year and makes less money? That's kind of what you'd be looking at. You wouldn't be looking to bring in, putting McGill or Peterson there. From Stony 814, did Aaron Nola go to Hut for agent? No, he's a free agent next year. I just looked it up. From D Garcia 426, why didn't the Mets go after Judge? Well, I don't think they were interested. I don't think they were interested. It didn't seem they were interested in spending all that money. No Name's got no idea what he's talking about. Trade Vientos, we don't need him. And then he says, rough, not so easy to trade. Well, according to the New York Post, he is easy to trade because he's only making $3 million. No Name, if you want to know, just go look on Baseball Reference or look it up on, just Google it. How do you think I look up the teams that need certain things? If I want to come up with a trade, 2 years ago when there was talk about the Lindor and the Mets, I was like, well, let me see what the Indians need at the time. The Indians, what the Cleveland needed, in terms of what they'd want back in return. And what I found out is they needed middle infielders and some pitching. So that's how I came up with a clickbait video talking about the Lindor trade. This was about a month and a half before they picked him up, and it was basically pound for pound the trade that eventually the Mets made. So if you want to know who has a surplus of outfielders, just look it up. Just look through Baseball Reference and what team has extra outfielders. JD Martinez is not going to be coming here. I don't see him coming here. And he did not hit well in August and September. He didn't do great. Where's Coke Hamels? Coke Hamels, my God. Guy needs to change his glass or something. And he retweeted it. He put this out. Cole Hamels, still only 38, would like to pay. Okay. Oh, this seems to be a problem. This might have been a problem with John Heyman in the past. He tweeted this out in 2019. Moose Betts has $20 million settlement with the Red Sox. Oh my God. Coke Hamels. Between arson and coke, you're not going to be able to live any of those down. Yes. Mike from the Avenue. Yep. Coke Hamels and arson judge. No Name says McCann doesn't suck. He has value. He does suck, and he does have value. He has value, but he does suck. Yeah, that's for sure. Coke Hamels, Moose Betts, arson judge. Now, again, please, of course, subscribe to the Baseball Hut and like this video. We had a lot of fun here, as you can tell. I don't care what I talk about. They're going to make fun of him for a couple of days. I mean, between arson and coke, they're not going to let up. I mean, it's pretty funny. And he should just own it. Said, he should just own it. He hadn't said anything. The thing with Judge was pretty embarrassing. But now it's getting comical when he screwed that up. You gotta make sure you tweet it out properly. You spell it out right. All right. The Mets, Rule 5 recap for the Mets. In the Major League phase, they picked up Zach Green from the Yankees. In the minor league phase, they picked up 5 players, actually. From the Pirates, right-handed pitcher Wilkin Ramos. From San Diego, outfielder Augustin Ruiz. From Baltimore, they picked up infielder Jonathan Aruz. From Colorado, they picked up infielder Mateo Gil. And from the Phillies, they picked up right-handed pitcher Trey Cobb. I have no idea who any of these players are. I mean, really, Mike, he needs to lay out the coke. He needs to stop being an arsonist and move on. McCann for coke. Yeah. Mario, do you think the Mets could trade for Devers? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Devers going anywhere. I know I did a video on that a few weeks ago, but I don't think Devers is going anywhere. I mean, the Mets would have to give up Beatty. I don't know if they want to do that. And he's a free agent next year. He is a younger free agent. He's 26 now, so he'll be 27 next year. Is it worth bringing him in here as a free agent, or just or trading him and trading a whole bunch of prospects? I don't know. And I want to see Beatty. I mean, there's been so much talk about Beatty. Mike from the Avenue. As a Yankee fan, I offer you Hicks for McCann. What you say? Let me take a look at Hicks, if you don't mind. Let me see. Let's take a look at Hicks. That's actually not a bad idea. Let me see what his money is. Aaron Hicks. Let's see. Oofa, he got one contract. I'm not doing that. Are you crazy? He's 33 years old. He's got a contract. He's not a free agent until 2025. No way in hell am I doing that. No way in hell. I wouldn't do that. That's crazy. That's a bad contract. That's a bad contract. I would not do that under any circumstances. Let me take a look at his money. The contract in terms of the money is not bad. Boy, he's got a lot of years on this contract. It's a mess. Wow. That is a bad contract. Holy shit. So he isn't a free agent until 2026. So he's got 3 more years on his contract. And he's a .230 hitter in his career. What were the Yankees thinking giving him this contract? Are they crazy? Wow. That's a bad contract. And he's been bad. And he's a bad outfielder, too. He's just bad, He played really poorly for the Yankees. He's been really bad the last few years. He shouldn't even be on the Yankees. They should get rid of him. Wow. So he's a .220. He's a .233 hitter with the Yankees. He's been with the Yankees a long time. I didn't realize he was there with that. Then I didn't realize he was here so long. He went to the Yankees a long time. Wow. And he's got 3 more years on his contract. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he would have been with the Yankees 10 years with this contract. What were they thinking when they signed this contract? This is crazy. That's a bad contract. That's about as bad as it gets. Wow. Now, wow, that's really bad. That's a bad contract. Ellsbury, that's not even a word. My goodness, that's worse than Ellsbury. Ellsbury was a good player with the Red Sox. This guy was not a good player. This guy was the Byron Buxton before Byron Buxton. And then he was a 230 hitter, and everybody went crazy for him. Wow, that's a bad contract. He's been with the Yankees that long? I didn't realize he's been with the Yankees that long. It's been a long time. Since 2016, so they probably picked him up in trade. So when he lived in Minnesota, he hit 225. And I guess after 2018, he had that big year, and they gave him that contract. That's crazy. And he's got 3 more years on this thing? Wow. Not much of a stolen base guy. Low on base percentage. Low slugging percentage. Wow, 387 all time. 403 with the Yankees. That's terrible. That's a terrible player. Oh my God. 7 years with the Yankees. Wow. And he's got 3 more years on this contract. He's a 5'10 guy. So he can't get traded. So based off, let me take a look. Hold on a second. Let me look at his service time. So he might be a 5'10 guy. So he's a little under 5. He's a little under 10 years. So he's not a 5'10 guy yet. But wow. That's a bad trade. That's a bad contract. Wow. I would not, under any circumstances, make that trade. Mike from the Avenue says the best part was last year he said he was having a 30-30 season. Who said that? Hicks said that or Cashman said that? Wow. That's terrible. That is a worse contract than any contracts the Mets ever put out. I mean, we got Jason Bay with the Mets, and we had Luis Castillo, and we had Oli Perez. But this guy's been bad for the last 3 years. Really, the last 4 years. So I guess he played a certain level in 2017, 2018, got this big contract. And he's been bad. Wow, he's been really bad. 2020, yeah, OPS plus 122. That's not bad. But that's over 54 games. But hit 225. Wow, it's terrible. Terrible. Never scored 100 runs. Only 27 home runs in 2018. Wow. Hold on a second, folks. Let me just stand up for a minute. Sit in the same spot here. right, sorry about that. Use the bathroom for a minute. No names, just all over the place. I'm going to end the live stream here. It seems like it's quiet right now. I don't expect any moves right now. I was hoping there would be some moves, but with the Rule 5 draft, that's basically the end. Let me just go through this article real quick before we end the live stream. Are you kidding me? You know what? No name, you're crazy. He was never signed a 2-year deal with anybody. Trey Turner. All right. It's from Joel Sherman. Mets have let agents at the winter meetings know their intention has been to obtain 3 starting pitchers this offseason. They got 2 already. They won the final 3 teams bidding for James Santanian, along with the Cubs and the Phillies. They also remain interested in Japanese star Kodai, Senga, and Ross Stripling, among others, in the free agent and trade markets. If they were able to secure 1 starter, the Mets would have a more veteran 5-man rotation again, and there's still to be added pitcher. They would leave Jose Butto, Lucchesi, Tyler McGill, and Peterson for depth or to help in the still thin bullpen. Here's something interesting, which I said before. But the addition of another star such as Senga or Stripling also can motivate the Mets to trade Carlos Carrasco. The righty who turns 36 in March is due $14 million in 23 on the final year of his contract. Perhaps a team that either struck out in free agency or didn't like prices would be interested in one year of the veteran Carrasco. The Mets with Quintana and reliever Brooks Raley have a payroll now that projects just north of $293 for competitive balance tax calculations. The 4th and top tier of the system, dubbed the Steve Cohen tax at its creation, begins in $293. As a second-time violator, they would have to pay 90 cents on every dollar over $293 million. So trading someone such as Carrasco to try to keep down the tax could motivate the Mets. Since Cohen in September told the show with Sherman and Heyman that a team should be able to win with a $300 million payroll. If that is the budget, Mets do not have much room left without subtracting contracts with money left on them. So keep an eye on it. Maybe they'll move Carrasco. So I think that's okay. All right, I'm going to end the live stream here. So I want to thank you all for coming by. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut, and I'll see you later. I'll be back. If there's some kind of move later, I'll do a video. If not, I'll catch you on the other side. So thank you, and I'll see you later.